Hi everyone, and welcome to the last part of this series. In today's video, Prince Ekoh, a PhD student at the University of Calgary, talks about his experiences in the program, the opportunities and challenges he has encountered, and what future students should keep in mind before beginning their doctoral journey. Let's hear directly from Prince Ekoh about his PhD experience.
Thank you for inviting me to talk to you about this faculty. My name is Prince Ekoh. I am a doctoral candidate in the Faculty of Social Work, University of Calgary. This is my fourth year. My doctoral research focuses on the social network and support experiences of older African refugees, and I use a combination of diagramming like timelines, eco maps, and storytelling to gather the experiences. And the idea is that due to forced migration, a lot of older adults lose their traditional support systems and their traditional social networks. So, how do we create new communities of support for them post-migration? Besides my doctoral research, I also engage in other research with faculty members. Like one of the research that we work on is on inclusive communities for older immigrants. And this research is a SHEC-funded project that is designed to find solutions that can address loneliness and social isolation among older immigrants. And the other research is on settlement in small and mid-sized cities. So the idea is to find what factors make newcomers decide to settle in small and mid-sized cities. So this can inform policy to help small and mid-sized cities retain newcomers. My experience in the faculty has been largely positive. It hasn't been perfect, but it has been largely positive. I feel like I get the appropriate amount of support that I need to push through my PhD. And of course, whoever gets into a PhD knows that it's a challenging journey, and you have to develop yourself as an independent scholar. However, being an independent scholar doesn't mean that you do not need support from your community, which is, like in this sense, the faculty. So starting from my supervisor, who is amazing, to other faculty members who always are willing to support my ideas and my research and discuss solutions to the problems that I encounter. So to a great extent, it has been a really good experience being in this faculty. One of the things that I appreciate a lot in the faculty is the prioritization of critical thinking within the faculty. A lot of things that's happened around us, people would look at it with face value. And like when you watch political commentary, sometimes you don't see the critical thinking with regards to how people discuss these things. But within this faculty, in any course that you go into, in any class that you go into, there is this intentional focus on critical thinking, teaching students to look beyond what is presented, right, and think about it critically. I feel like I belong here, like I belong to this type of space where there are a lot of critical thinkers. And also, the faculty is also intentional in their efforts to decolonize social work education and social work practice. So, and this cannot be done in isolation. There is need to bring in indigenous scholars, black scholars, people who are racialized as Asians, blacks. That diversity and inclusion is required if you want to decolonize social work education and social work practice. One of the things that I would say was a challenge for me in the faculty was that when I started the PhD, I feel personally that I didn't get enough information on certain things. For example, funding, right? Like, I feel that there is room for improvement with regards to how the faculty prepares doctoral students to seek funding and know the funding opportunities available. So a lot of the time, it's like maybe your colleague or somebody sees something and shares with you. That's how you know about it. But I feel like the faculty can make it more structured not just funding. Like imagine coming in as a PhD student in a new country and a new environment. You need as much information as possible. So there is need for better communication of information. That's my thought. And moving forward to the city of Calgary, I would say I love living in Calgary. And although the rent and cost of living is going high now, but it is still a city that is relatively affordable to live in, right? The people are really nice. I have been to Montreal and Toronto and other big cities, and I can say that maybe I'm biased, but I can say that, like, in my own view, the people in Calgary are really nice. Like, if you are stranded on the street, you can ask anybody for direction, and they would even walk you a little bit to make sure that you find your way. If you bump into someone at the elevator and you say hi, they say hi back to you. So this is not the same experience I get when I go to some other cities in Canada. So I think Calgary is a really nice place for newcomers, and like if you're a potential student coming in here, you are pretty sure that you are coming to a place where random strangers in the community would smile with you, support you in any way that they can. But that being said, it's so cold in Calgary. It gets really cold, and even in the summer it gets really hot too. So it's not just the cold, so it's difficult to manage the weather. Right now we are enjoying the in-between, but we know that it's not going to last very long. So anybody who is coming in would also prepare their mind and know that they have to get ready to wear what is required for each weather. You don't dress up for what you like, you dress up for the weather in Calgary. If I'm being honest, I'm not a big outdoor person. So I don't go out a lot to hike and or whatnot. But one of the main attractions of Calgary is the mountains. It is very beautiful. Calgary has a lot of nature, and you would enjoy hiking, camping, and like if you're an outdoor person, if you're really interested in this, you would always find people. Like even there are Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups where people communicate and get together to engage in these activities. So like for newcomers, it's a way to address the loneliness and isolation that comes with moving into a new place. Before I went into academia, I had done a couple of things. I worked in a hospital as a social worker. I worked with IDPs as a volunteer. I did acting, theater acting at some point. When I was in Abuja, I was acting, and it's funny. It's a funny story because before I left the city of Abuja, I had gotten a part in a TV soap opera that was going to be shot in Nigeria, and the idea was that it was going to last for 4 years. Okay. So it was an interesting gig, but I had an offer to go back to the University of Nigeria to teach. Okay. So it was in between acting and teaching. And so at the end of the day, I went to the teaching route because at that point in my life, I wanted something more permanent. I didn't think acting was going to provide me with the structure that I needed, right? So that's why I left acting and went to teach in University of Nigeria. So my journey in academia started properly at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And I had good colleagues, good mentors, people who are really interested in research, people who are going to support you, push you, teach you things regarding research. And I always say that, like, my university in Nigeria speaks, breathes, thinks, eats research. That concept of publish or perish, my university takes it to a new level, right? So everybody in the university is expected to publish as much as possible. Like, for you to grow, for you to get promotions, for you to get anything, you have to be publishing. My research journey started in Nigeria. I did my master's at the University of Southampton, went back to Nigeria, did another master's degree before I came here for my PhD. I would say that the experiences I've had in Nigeria was really good for me because it exposed me to research. However, I would also say that when I came here, that I started moving away from the traditional ways of doing research. And I would say that I would give this faculty credit, this faculty of social work, University of Calgary, credit for making me think beyond the traditional ways of doing research. Because when I was in Nigeria and I was taught to do research, it was the classical traditional ways of doing quantitative and qualitative research, right? So we weren't really encouraged to do art-based research, multisensory research, and other forms of research that involves other ways of knowing, right? So, and I feel like this is a disservice to us in Nigeria, considering that the classical way of doing research is very Eurocentric. So if you want to use Afrocentric method of doing research, you have to think beyond the traditional ways of doing research. And it's sad that I started thinking beyond the traditional ways of doing research when I came here. And now, a lot of the time that I do research, I don't want to go back to the traditional ways of doing research. I want to explore new approaches to research, new models of doing research, especially because the people that I work with are specifically Africans. I also work with some African community organizations as a volunteer in Calgary. So the work that I do with them and the research that I do, I'm now intentional in trying to adapt Afrocentric methods in both my work with them and in my teaching and my research. So I would say in this faculty, if you come here, people are willing to support you, right? As long as you identify the right people who have the right knowledge of what you want, they are always willing to help and support you, right? So if you're a new person in the faculty, you don't have to rely just on your supervisor for what you need. Take advantage of the resources that the faculty can offer you. There are people who are doing amazing jobs in this faculty. There are people who are doing simulation. There are people who are using Afrocentric methods. There are people who are using indigenous methods. As you can see, we have an indigenous lodge. So you can go there, talk with elders at the indigenous lodge. So I would say, instead of trying to box yourself in as a new person, try to take advantage of the resources that the faculty can offer you, because there is so much that this faculty can offer students. The problem is sometimes the students are not aware of all the things that they can take advantage of. So I would say, instead of waiting for the faculty to tell you the things that are available, ask questions, talk to like your colleagues, other PhD students, even in other levels, talk to master's students, talk to postdoc students, talk to professors that you see. Just introduce yourself and ask for support, and they will always support you in any way that you need. The people who manage the Indigenous Lodge are amazing people. And I say this because I have seen how they relate with students, how welcoming they are of students, how willing they are to share what they have, the knowledge that they have with the students. Like the Indigenous Lodge is not just open to Indigenous students, it's open to everyone. And sometimes, even when they don't have activities, students are allowed to sit there and do their work and interact with each other and other people, right? I would say that having that lodge is one of the best things this faculty have done, right? For me, I have had the opportunity to be there, to attend events there, because it's a grandmother's lodge. There are some programs that are for women. There are some programs like when they teach women how to pick sage and sweet grass and stuff like that. Sometimes they also have events. Like one of the events that I attended was organized when there was an event that happened, I think, in Saskatoon, to honor the people who were involved in that event. We went there, we prayed, we shared our experiences, learned from each other. We had elders who would also pray with us and bless us. For me, being in that space teaches me a lot about indigenous ways of being and indigenous cultures. And I think this is very important, especially for people in social work, because a lot of the people that we would encounter in our work would be indigenous persons. And if we do not have any level of understanding of the culture and the significance of ceremony and what they do, we will not be able to practice efficiently with them, right? I'm not going to say that we have to be culturally competent, because I feel like cultural competency is tricky. Like, I'm not even competent in my own culture. Talk more of being competent in another person's culture. But that lodge puts you in a place where you can demonstrate cultural humility and learn about indigenous ways of being. And this, in combination with the other teaching you get in the faculty, right, would prepare you to show a level of cultural sensitivity when you are working with indigenous peoples, right? Not every social work program has this type of opportunity. So I feel like students here are privileged to learn from elders that come to the lodge to teach. My research is specifically with older Africans that live in Calgary and in Canada. That's my own doctoral research, because if you look at existing literature, one of the things you would find out is that research on the experiences of older refugees is lacking. So how do we design intervention? How do we design practice models? And how do we design policies that address their needs if there is no research with that population? And this is even worse with regards to older refugees from Africa, right? So, like, you might find some research with older refugees in general. So, like, they would make older refugees look like a homogeneous group, right? But their realities and their experiences are not the same, right? So for older Africans, their reality living in Africa, going through all the difficulty and trauma that they go through, and then coming to Canada, a new country with a new culture, different climate, different language, and losing their traditional support systems, which in Africa is still largely the source of support for older adults. The community and the family is still largely the source of support for older adults. But forced migration makes older refugees lose this source of support. It's a different reality. And that, for me, is why this research is very important. I'm a part of the inclusive communities for older immigrants. So this research looks at how we can address social isolation and loneliness amongst older immigrants. Because like I said before, even though I said this in relation to older African refugees, there is enough research evidence to show that older immigrants are at higher risk of loneliness and social isolation. And this leads to both mental health and physical health problems and increased mortality. So this research focuses on some specific language groups, including Arabic speaking, Punjabi speaking, Mandarin speaking older. Like in our border, this is the language groups we are working with. So we are trying to see their experiences of social isolation and loneliness, or what we can do to address social isolation and loneliness, which will ultimately improve their well-being. Faculty provides a great community for students, for researchers, for teachers, and if you get the opportunity to join this faculty, which is the largest faculty of social work in the whole of Canada, by the way, if you get the opportunity to join the faculty on any capacity, you should look forward to a huge opportunity to learn and interact and connect with like-minded people who really want to make a change, who think about social justice and equity and inclusion all the time. So this faculty is focused on making its current environment and the world in general a better place through the work that social workers do. So I strongly recommend.
Thank you for watching this 3-part series at the Faculty of Social Work, University of Calgary. I hope you found it insightful. And if you are considering studies here, I wish you all the best on your journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more community stories and conversations.